right, so here's another example of how we might evaluate a triple integral. Here we're going to find the mass of a region in space given the density function f of x, y, z equals y, and our region in space is bounded by y equals x squared plus z squared and y equals 4. So the first thing to notice is how our region is given to us. It's already solved for y. So when we choose, which will be our first step, when we choose our R3 simple, choosing y is probably a wise idea here because we don't want to have to solve for z, especially the first equation where we would have to possibly have a plus or minus, and we don't want to do that. So we're going to, our first step, which would be choosing our simple, our R3 simple, we're going to choose y this time. So we're going to go y simple first. Now, notice also, I'm going to sketch this. You don't have to every time, but I rotated our 3D coordinate system. It's oriented in the same way, just rotated, so that y is going vertically up, just because that's easier for me to sketch and for me to visualize. So the first, y equals x squared plus y squared. If you think about putting different values of y, you can see that you would get circles as traces as the values of y increase. So our level curves would be circles. So we might have something that looks like this, right? So it's a circular paraboloid, and as y values increase, the radius of our paraboloid also increases. So we've got something that looks like this along our y-axis, more or less. Okay, and y equals 4, well, x and z vary from negative infinity to infinity, so y equals 4 is a plane parallel to the xz plane. And so if I call this 4, then you can imagine maybe having a plane here that intersects our surface, and this plane has equation y equals 4. So if we are then choosing y simple, the first thing we need to do is enclose y between two surfaces. And so in our diagram, you can see that y will be less than or equal to 4, but greater than or equal to x squared plus z squared. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to determine what's above and what's below. And that will entail going down to our region on the plane, picking points in our region to see, and plugging them into the surfaces to see which one's higher, which one's lower. So that's another way that you can determine the order here. Okay, so the second thing that we need to do is we need to attend to our region in R2. So our region here will be on the xz plane, since we have chosen y simple. And the region, remember, I described it as, imagine putting a little light above the two surfaces that goes down, right? And you can see the shadow of the intersection on the xz plane. That's going to help us figure out what the region ought to be. So our shadow here is going to look circular, you might have guessed, but let's also figure out algebraically what that will be. So when we look at the xz plane, because we chose y simple, we know that at the xz plane, y is 0. Y is 0 gives us nothing here, but what I can do is we can find, and this is going to be important, this is one way that you can find your region, is intersect your two surfaces. So intersect the two surfaces, you can see that the intersection is going to give us a circle at the altitude of y equals 4, and then we can look down onto the xy plane and project it down. So when we intersect our two surfaces here, we have that x squared plus z squared must equal 4. There's no y here, so when y is 0, we get this circle of radius 2. And now I do think this is really important, is to sketch your region in R2. So if you don't sketch the region in space, that's okay, but it's really important to sketch your region in R2, and I'm going to put z as my vertical axis and x as my horizontal axis. And here we have a circle of radius of 2. That is our projection. So let me try, well, I'm just gonna wing it here. Because this application only gives me solid circles and it takes me forever to figure out how to just get the outline. So I'm just gonna wing it, this circle of radius 2. Whoops. All right, imagine that's a circle of radius 2, more or less. Okay, now, well, we could decide, are we gonna go z simple or x simple? Either way, if you take a look at our equation of our circle, means we're gonna have to solve for the top part of the circle, the bottom part of the circle. We can of course use some symmetry here, but we are gonna have square roots. And in the section that we just learned about prior to this class, we learned about polar coordinates. So since this region is a double integral, right? Once we've chosen our y simple, that's our inner integral. And so now we have 2 integrals left. So we can use polar coordinates to define the limits of integration for our middle and outer integrals. Because that's going to be much easier to use instead of having roots. So remember, with polar coordinates, we're going to need bounds for r. R is between 2 curves, and theta is between 2 constants. So r here, if I start at the origin and I go outward, r is always between 0 and 2. So r is between 0 and 2. And theta, well, I need the whole circle, so that's going to go from 0 to 2 pi. So let's see what we have so far. We have bounds for our inner integral and bounds for our middle and outer. So let's see what else we need to do in our setup. So let's go ahead and set up our 3 integrals. We know that our first integral is y simple, and our lower bound is x squared plus z squared, and our upper bound is 4. Our density function was just y, and this is going to be with respect to y. So this is our inner integral with respect to y because we went y simple. Now, our middle integral is going to be with respect to r. So we're going to need a double integral here. Let's just write double integral over the region on the xy plane with a little area element. And we can figure that out because we already have bounds for r and theta. So let's write that out. Recall though that since we're using polar coordinates for our region, our area element will be r, d, theta, because when we split a polar region into polar rectangles, they are not rectangular. They're distorted a little bit. All right, so we're ready to write our integrals. Outer integral will be theta from 0. It doesn't really matter in this case, but I'm going to just use theta from 0 to 2 pi. Middle integral, r from 0 to 2. I said the order here doesn't matter. We can very easily switch it because they are both between constants. And our inner integral is from x squared plus z squared to 4 of y dy r dr d theta. Now, let's think about this a little bit before we finish our setup. We're not quite done. And let's think about why we might not be quite done. So, okay, y here is not written in polar coordinates, and that's okay, because once we evaluate y using our limits of integration, we hope to get a function that's in terms of r and theta. So I don't need to change y, but I do need to change our limits of integration. Notice what we have for our lower limit of integration, x squared plus z squared. If we go back to our xy plane, x squared plus z squared, right? If we're thinking here of x as our polar axis, gives us our polar axis, and z acts like our y, then we know that x squared plus z squared is equal to r squared when we move from rectangular to polar coordinates. So we can replace that bottom limit of integration for that first inner integral with r squared. We don't need to replace y. In fact, we cannot write y in terms of polar coordinates because we've only defined the region on the xy plane in polar coordinates, and in that region, y is just 0. So here's what we have. We have integral from 0 to 2 pi is our outer integral. Integral from 0 to 2. Integral from r squared to 4. Y times r d y d r d theta. And that's good because once we evaluate our inner integral, we're going to have an expression in terms of r, which is what we need for our middle integral. And so we're in good shape here. So let's go ahead and evaluate this integral. I said that I wouldn't from now on so that my videos aren't so long, but in case you want to follow my evaluation, I'll do this one and maybe skip the next couple. So let's evaluate our integrals. I'm going to focus on my inner integral that is in terms of y, and that's integral from r squared to 4 of y dy, and I can kind of ignore that r until my integral with respect to r for my middle integral. So this is going to become y squared over 2 from r squared to 4, and that gives us 16 over 2 is 8, so 8 minus r to the 4th over 2. Okay, now we go to our middle integral, and now let's not forget that r from our dA. So this one's going to be integral from 0 to 2, and I need to multiply this by r because I can't forget this r. So that gives me an 8r minus r to the 5th over 2, and we are integrating here with respect to r. So let's go ahead and integrate, and this gives me 8r squared over 2, or 4r squared, minus r to the 6th over 12. Integrating from 0 to 2, and that will give me 16 minus r to the 5th is 32, so r to the 5th must be 64 twelfths. 64 twelfths, and when I put 0 in place of r, we just get 0. So maybe I should simplify that, but I'm not going to, not yet. And let's work on our outer integral, which will be in terms of theta. Now notice this is just a constant, so I can really pull this out as a constant. And we're just left with integral from 0 to 2 pi of theta. No, just d theta. Sorry, I was already integrating. Just d theta. So this is going to give us 16 minus 64 over 12 theta from 0 to 2 pi, which is 2 pi times 16 minus 64 over 12. If I distribute here, I get 32 pi minus 64 pi over 6. And if I can write that as 32 pi minus 32 pi over 3. If I divide the second integral by 2. And now I've got 96 pi over 3 minus 32 pi over 3, which gives me 64 pi over 3, and that is our mass of the solid that was enclosed, I forgot about it, between our paraboloid and the plane.